Yeah, and so Hammett, let's kind of look over at some or last week's player and pitcher of the week, and then kind of some of the diamond notes from last week. But go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, we'll start with player. Landon Tomei, he earned our player of the week, and it was a tough decision. There was a lot of good players that easily, could have won it as well. But Landon, he went 7 for 9. Um, 2 home runs, 2 triples, 2 doubles, 5 RBIs, 7 runs scored, and 4 stolen bases. But what really kind of sealed it for us was just the storyline behind going down to Limestone, right? Where his father, Jim, who's a pretty good baseball player, he's not bad, played his high school ball, and he hit 2 home runs, right? Not just one, but two. And, like, that in and of itself just is, like, super cool. And then I saw his mom, Andrea Tomei, was tweeting, like, for, like, one for each of the grandparents. So if you go that way, it's like, oh my God, like, that makes it even cooler. Like, it was just awesome. And I heard it was a packed house. Like, we had Dane Poe down there catching that one, but like Jim was signing autographs during the game. It was just like an awesome thing. But yeah, Landon, I mean, he also did have, arguably the best stat line of the week as well. But then moving over to the pitcher of the week, Ryan Shaffnett. So he's our first ever back-to-back winner for pitcher of the week, because we didn't start doing pitcher of the week until maybe a couple of years ago, because we wanted to, give more people love, instead of just an overarching player. So first ever back-to-back pitcher of the week. And anyone can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I was really trying to dig and do my research. I think he's the first ever back-to-back player of the week we've ever had. And I know that sounds crazy because we've had a lot of people win it, like, numerous times. But from what I can tell, it was like Owen Murphy. He never won it back to back. It was like one week, then a week off, and then he'd win another one, and then a week off, and then another one. So I think he's the first ever back to back in general. But he threw 7 innings, no runs allowed, just 2 hits, walked one, and struck out 14, and that was against Tremont. So I was doing a little digging on this. That's Tremont's only loss of the year. All right, is that one game. So that also kind of elevates that performance for me, at least personally. I believe they're 8-1, 9-1 on the year now. That was before this weekend, so they might have played a couple more games now. This is Tremont I'm talking about. But on the year, Shaffnett is now 3-0 with 21 innings pitched, 8 hits. He's punched out 37 and walked 3, which is pretty crazy. And then he has a 0.33 ERA. So just keeps getting it done. He's the ace of that staff, and he's easily one of the most dominant arms in the state right now.
I don't know about you guys, but every week we vote on who we think is the player of the week and the submissions and all that. Go through, look at it all. But I thought this week was extremely tough. And first off, I think what made it really tough is all of the submissions that we received. So, like, kudos to the high school coaches out there that are sending in all of the quality performances, and we want them all and more. Send us a boatload of stuff, because if they don't get in the player of the week, they're going to be mentioned in the Diamond Notes, which is one of the coolest things that we do in the spring, I think, just highlighting all of the video game type performances that are coming, across the state, whether it's on the mound or with the bat. But like Landon Tomey stood out to me because he went 7 for 9, but 6 of those hits were extra base hits. 2 home runs, 2 triples, 2 doubles, scored 7 runs. And then, I mean, you mentioned it, the storyline was awesome, but like, Ryan Shafton, like, just huge shout out to him. He was a little bit of a climber in our 25 ranking update as well. But Gavin, you said it ever since you saw him last year. Like, the guy pounds the strike zone. He may be the best strike thrower in all Illinois baseball right now. I see he's got 3 walks and 21 innings pitched, but I bet if you break down his starts and his strike percentage, he's got to be up towards the top of the class. So to throw that many strikes and to be that dominant, to get that many strikeouts, really, really cool to see, because I think that Tremont game, like, that was one of the things we looked at to push him over the edge too, right? It was like, who was he pitching against? We were trying to nitpick it because we're like, it should be hard to win it twice in a row. And Mac McGarry, I know, made it tough. But kudos to Shaffnet and just every performance out there that made our decision really, really hard this week.
I
Because
think
there's a
what's
bunch
cool
here that I
too.
know you guys might get to here, Gavin.
I think
Yeah.
what's cool too with Shafton, I remember you sending me out to go see him his sophomore year. So man, this is 2 years ago now in the spring, and the outing I saw, maybe it was just a bad, unfortunate time, but it was not a very good outing. I don't even know if he made it out of the first inning. Last year I went and saw him multiple times, and every time I saw him, ton of strikes. And then I think we saw a game, just looking at Game Changer, where he threw like 75% strikes or more or something. Like it was like a crazy percentage. And then obviously just continuing to do it this year. Like that's just awesome to see. But yeah, looking over, or go ahead. Sorry.
Well, no, and I think you saw him his sophomore year, and he was kind of a late, not bloomer, but kind of developer into what we
Mm-hmm.
thought he was going to be. And I think some of it was due to injury.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think he had a tough stretch there where he had some things going on, and anybody that's had an injury, like trying to then overcompensate, figure it out, maybe change, differently how you throw it so something doesn't hurt as bad, like can really, really mess you up. So I'm guessing he's feeling really healthy. He's a bigger body and he clearly knows how to sync up and has a really good changeup. Like I love Ryan Schaffner's future. Like that is a guy, like you said, like continues to just get better. He's got present stuff and he's a strike thrower. Like those guys tend to succeed.
And also, just one more nugget to add. He won like a Player of the Week award or something with the like Central Illinois like news, and Jim Matson's like a sports broadcaster in the Peoria area who always does a really good job with that stuff. And he interviewed Ryan, and I was watching it, and just his maturity. He just seems like everyone talked on the team and their coach about how good of a leader he is and just a good person, and how he's like the guy in the dugout that if there's a foul ball and he's not pitching, he's getting it. So just another thing to add on Ryan, which is pretty cool to add through all of this too.
Heck yeah. What do we got on Diamond Notes here? Because I know
Yes.
I touched on it,
Yes.
Gavin. You want to get through some of these guys?
Yeah. So the first thing, I think Mac McGarry was probably a hard one for us, like trying to pick between. Like I know some of us were voting on different arms, and Mac was one of the arms that you guys were kind of looking at as a potential or pitcher of the week. I mean, he threw 5 innings, threw a perfect game, struck out 6 in an 11-0 win over Romeoville. And I don't know if we mentioned it before, but on the season he's thrown 7 innings, struck out 10, and allowed no runs. So good season so far for Mac. I mean, he's just been pretty dominant so far. So you guys have anything you want to add there? Or do you want me to just keep rolling?
That time of last week, and then we touched on earlier, he had an awesome outing against Riverside Brookfield last week as well. So that's probably like 13 innings pitched, and what do we say? Like he's probably at. Sorry, this is bad podcasting here. Yeah, so 13 innings pitched now on the season with 22 strikeouts. So pretty ridiculous. So shout out to Mac there.
For me with Mac, like what it comes down to is we talked about it when we rolled out the Power 25 preseason and how Naz had an incredible 2024 class. And a bunch of those guys left, whether it was David Cox, who was one of their main arms, or Fiore, or John Hughes. The list goes on and on. I'm sure I'm missing some guys. But, like, who was going to be that arm that stepped up to be their ace? And I think it's like there's no question about it now. Mac is that guy. He has performed. He's probably going to get the ball against all their, toughest games. And Naz needed that. They needed that guy to step up. So really cool to see there.
Yeah, and then just going down the list, Nick Morsovillo at Sandburg went 7 for 11 with a homer, triple, double, 6 RBI, a walk, and 4 runs scored. Finn Stovall at Harlem went 12 for 22 on the week with 3 homers, a triple, 10 RBI, 12 runs, 3 walks, 2 stolen bases. I think they must have been a team that maybe went down south or something and played a ton of games, because I know there were some teams that had, or it might have been their spring break trip where they were just able to get a ton of games in. Hunter McGrath at Lyle, he went 7 for 10 with a double, 3 runs scored, a walk, and a stolen base. Threw 4 in the third innings, struck out 10, allowed no runs, 3 walks, and 2 hits. Caden Kendall at Andrew, 11 for 20, had 9 extra base hits. 2 of those were homers, 8 RBI, 8 runs, and 2 stolen bases. And then Ben De Matteo at Farragut, is that how you guys say it? Am I saying that right? Out of Chicago. Farragut.
I'm pretty sure that's where Kevin Garnett went.
Oh, okay. That's awesome.
I'm going
Good
to
nugget
Google that
there.
one, though. I'll call myself out if not.
He threw a 5-inning no-hitter, struck out 11, and walked 2. Tyler Gluting out of Matea Valley. He's an arm that we saw up to, 93, 94 this preseason, but he's doing it at the plate too for Matea. 10 for 18, 5 extra base hits. 2 of those were homers. He walked, had 6 RBIs, 12 runs scored, and 3 stolen bases. Trey Myers out of New Trier went 8 for 13 with 2 homers, 6 RBIs, a triple, a walk, 7 runs scored, 2 stolen bases. And then, Pete, you saw this game last Saturday, but Brady Cunningham out of Brother Rice, do you want to kind of add a little bit more to this with what he did?
Yeah, so he threw a 5-inning no-hitter with 1 walk, and he walked the first batter of the game. And like I mentioned last week, like it had just finished raining, so he was probably just feeling out the mound. So walked the first guy, and then after that it was lights out, punched out 8. And he also doubled and drove in a run at the plate, so did it both sides of the ball. Yeah.
Definitely. Real quick before game coverage, one team we didn't put them on this list here, so I'm going to shout them out. But one team that surprised me maybe a little bit this year, had a really strong start, is Plainfield Central, and Ryan Perry. I saw he had a really good start last week. Complete game, 3 hits, struck out 10 against Riverside Brookfield in a 1-0 win. He's a Frontier Community College commit, so just want to shout that out there quick, Gavin, and kind of give Mr. John Rosner's squad there a little love, former Plainfield Central head coach.